Hello everybody, welcome back to the Spoked Wheel YouTube channel. Today we're back with episode 21 of the Andy Schleck Pro Cyclist mode playthrough. We have 3 pretty exciting races on the calendar today, but before we get into that, as you can see from the screen we're currently on, we have contract offers from 4 different teams. So the first thing we're going to do in today's video is head over to the team index page, and from there we're going to pick out which team gives us the best chance of moving up into the Pro Continental ranks for the 2021 season. So as you can see here, it's FAPEL, a Portuguese team that gives us the best chance of moving on up into Continental Pro. They're currently in 31st place in the team index, which would already be good enough to get them a spot in the Continental Pro division for 2021. So when you add in the points from Andy Schleck, if we sign with them, that should theoretically boost them up a little bit higher and make it even more solidified that hopefully this team will be ending up in the next division next season. So having seen that, let's go ahead and accept this offer from FAPEL to ride with them for the next season. A quick look there at their main riders under contract in 2021 shows some pretty interesting names. They've been adding to their team in order to have a rider like Louis Meintjes on the team. Yoni Brandao, I believe, already rode for them, but is a pretty solid rider, so we'll have some stronger teammates this time around. So let's hit this accept button, and we will be riding for FAPEL next season. So now that we've taken care of the contract stuff for next year, let's look at the races we have for today. The first will be the Tour de Doubs in France. It's a bit of a hilly race, so we could try for a good result at that one. Our second race will be in Belgium, Pancake Flat, so not going to be up our alley. We'll go through that one very quickly. And then third and finally, to cap off the video, we will be riding in the World Championships. This will be really exciting. I don't really know what we should expect for this race, but perhaps it's better to just enjoy the experience in our first World Championships and see what we can come up with once we get there. So we're now into our first race of the day, and our team wants us to work as a teammate, but given the sort of punchy finish, we're not going to do that. We're going to save our energy and see if we can get a nice result. There's some pretty strong riders at this race. Astana is here with the Izagirre brothers. De Koonik is here as well. So a couple different World Tour teams, a couple Pro Continental teams are here. But it'll be a nice test to see riding for ourselves if we can try and get maybe a top 10 against this sort of tough competition. I think that would be a nice result. With 15 kilometers to go, we're hitting this final climbing section now. The attacks are immediately starting. Let's go on effort cursor to try and ride a bit of a steadier tempo, and we'll even follow the wheel here of Rob Power, or try to. But we're in a pretty solid group that's getting away right now, although they're flying, so I'm not so sure if we're going to be able to hold this pace. Let's put it on maintain position. Don't want to lose too much energy here and get dropped completely, but we're in a pretty solid group with riders like Jack Haig, Kevin Genietz, who we faced off against at the National Championships. Ivan Sosa and Chris Froome are both here, but Haig is pushing on as groups are starting to go up the road, so let's make sure we're staying in this group here with him over the top of this first climb. There is still another little kicker here before the end that will probably do some damage as well, but for the time being, I think we're in a pretty good group. We're on to the second little climb here now. I have my effort on 99 because I don't want anyone in this group to go away without us. It looks like we're even starting to come back to this front group as Pierre Latour attacks to try and find the win. But with 5 kilometers to go, we're going to use our energy gel. We're with Gino Mader and Jack Haig still onto the descent. Looks like we're going to be in contention for a top 10 here against some pretty solid World Tour competition, so definitely a solid showing as we head in towards the last 3 kilometers. Let's bump our effort down a little bit so we can put it on effort cursor here. We got Izagirre up the road as the sprint opens up. A little late to start. We're probably not going to get top 10, but we are going to finish with the second group on the road here. We're going to come across in 14th place, so top 15 for Andy Schleck against some stiff competition. We're into the second race of the video now, and this one is extremely flat, so our main focus is just going to be doing the work at the front of the group that our team wants us to do, and other than that, we'll go through this one very quickly. We're into the last few kilometers here. It's looking like it's going to be a bunch sprint, which means it's not really one for us today, but we will try and pick a wheel to follow and see if we can finish up there in the standings, I guess. As we head into the final kilometer, we're going to open up our sprint. And it looks like it's going to be Vermeersch just ahead of Enzo Wouters to take the win today. And we're going to finish just outside of the top 10 in 12th place. We are into our third and final race of the video, which is none other than the UCI World Championships. We're decked out in the cool national team kit for Luxembourg. We have a pretty good +1 race day condition, +2 to our mountain rating, which is going to be helpful. The boost to our resistance and stamina should also come in handy in this race. We've been assigned the role of teammate, but we're definitely a better climber than Gastur or Drucker, so I think we're going to save our energy and try and ride for ourselves in this race. Not too often that the World Championships course suits a pure climber like Andy Schleck, so we're going to try and take advantage. I don't really think it's going to be possible for us to win this race, but it would be cool to try and get a top 10 or a top 15. So as you can see from the profile, there's tons of climbing. This is a really tough course, but we're just going to do our best to manage our energy and stay competitive in the race for as long as we can. We're now hitting the first climb of the day with still over 130 kilometers to go, so from this point on the race has gotten serious. So it's all about trying to manage our energy and stay with the leaders, while also trying to recover on the descents and just keep ourselves as fresh as possible to try and contend late into the race. We've been over the main climb on the course 3 times now, and things have really picked up because the group has come back together, but we found ourselves in a group of 25 riders in the peloton right now, so the splits are starting to happen as the pure climbers are separating themselves from riders who are not quite as proficient at going uphill. We're on the penultimate ascent now of this climb, and things are really kicking off. We've had attacks from big riders like Nibali and Michael Matthews. Our teammate Ben Gastur, who was in the break, has been caught, so it's now been the turn of sort of outside favorites to go on the offensive as we're in the last 40 kilometers. We're just going to try and stay in this group, the peloton, for as long as we can. No real need for us to respond to moves like this because other teams like Great Britain are going to be chasing them down for us. So we're just going to try and hang in there, and we'll see what happens on the final climb. I think we've conserved our energy pretty well so far, but unfortunately we did just get gapped on the descent, so we're going to start the final climb with a little bit of a disadvantage on some of the bigger favorites. But let's just ride at our own pace here on this final climb, and we'll see what sort of company that puts ourselves in, as we've sort of here rejoined the peloton just as we've hit the slopes of the climb. So we're in a decent spot. We're going to put it on 85 effort to the top of this climb, and hopefully that should allow ourselves to be in a decent spot without tiring ourselves out too much. We've seen a few attacks here from some of the big favorites, but we've gotten over the top of the climb in a phenomenal position, actually. There's just one rider up the road. That's Bauke Mollema. We're in a group with Alejandro Valverde, Mikel Landa, and Tom Dumoulin. So we're looking at a potential top 6 finish if the gaps hold as they are right now. And we don't have to do any work in this group because there's 2 Spanish riders here to chase. Dumoulin's not going to do any work either because he has a teammate Mollema up the road. So it's all pretty much down to Alejandro Valverde to try and chase this back down from Bauke Mollema, which it looks like he's doing. To be honest, I'm not sure why Landa isn't working for Valverde, because Valverde definitely has a much faster finish than Mikel Landa does. But we're entering the final 5 kilometers now. There are groups close behind us looking to come back into this race. So let's even come to the front here and contribute to the pace a little bit. We'll relay with Valverde. I want to try and finish as high up as I can, so I think that gives us the best chance of doing so. We're going to catch Mollema here into the final 2 kilometers. Let's lower the pace down because I don't want to tire myself out before the sprint. But it looks like we're going to be going up against a couple of tired riders. So let's open up the sprint from the front. Dumoulin's going to challenge us. Mollema is going to challenge us. It looks like Dumoulin is going to win the World Championship ahead of his compatriot Bauke Mollema. Mikel Landa will take 3rd, and we'll finish just outside the medals in 4th place with Andy Schleck. So a little disappointing that we couldn't finish on the podium, but that is a phenomenal result in our first World Championship. Much better than I anticipated coming into the race. So that's going to be it for this video. It was a pretty good one, I think, with sorting out the contract negotiations for next season and then finishing 4th at Worlds. I believe we replicated Andy Schleck's finish at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. If I recall correctly, he finished 4th in that race, just outside of the medals as well. So a little bit of history there that we've replicated in a similar event. But yeah, next video will be our last 3 races of the season. So we're just about done with our first year, and then we'll start to look ahead towards the next season. So thanks to everyone who has been watching. Make sure you tune in for the conclusion to our first season next time out, and I will see you next time.